us on this part of the program this morning. We're getting the conversation on the road quickly. I'm already joined by two gentlemen. There's a third one, Curtis Ogbebo, who will be joining us very shortly in the course of the program this morning. Let me begin from my very far left. I have Gospower Iwado there. He's a member of the National Association of Sea Dogs, also known as Paris Fraternity. Arabella chapter is also a human rights activist, very passionate about issues of human rights, protection of those rights, and then where, for example, there's violation or infringement, how those rights, I mean, those issues can also be addressed. Gospel, thank you for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. And next to him is Wilson Imaswens, also a human rights activist. Wilson, it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Great. I want to begin with you, Wilson. You've been part of several demonstrations, for example, as people will call it, the struggle for human rights. But let's not forget that today is World Human Rights Day. So I'm sure virtually everybody across the world is having a conversation about the issues. What have been your experiences as far as the struggle for human rights is concerned?
Good morning once more. As far as the struggle for human rights is concerned, one of the challenges is that in this part of the world, that's our own society, a lot of rights of citizens have been trampled upon. Understand? At times, when the right of citizen is violated, they do come to our office to lay their complaints. Understand? Because we, from our angle, we stand as the third leg of
you say we, who exactly?
Okay, I'm talking of we, the human rights.
Okay, civil society.
Civil society. The civil society stand as the third leg of the tripod. When issues are being reported to us, at times we just go maybe at times they'll say somebody will just come and to complain that something happened to him and he was arrested. Okay. You understand? By the police. So when we go to the police station, we now find out that some of these persons, maybe probably because they did not know their right, they don't really know what to do. So they want to use that advantage to unturn the rights of the citizens.
Maybe exploit the person,
exploit them,
take undue advantage,
of that right. So when they now look at us, the civil society, they are here. Okay. Probably because of our track records and a lot of successes that we have made in the past. We will say, okay, since civil society, they are here because of us, now they will just look at it. Then from the police angle, they will look at it and say, okay, since they are here, we'll listen to you, sir. The thing is that what they wanted to obtain, they will now give it.
There'll not be maybe some level of fairness?
Yes, some level of fairness.
On account of the intervention of the civil society. You see, when we talk about all this, it sounds beautiful. But Gospel, let's look at it from the angle of the fact that every society has its own set of laws. Nigeria, for example, has a constitution, which of course also guarantees the fundamental rights of citizens, in addition to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights from 1948, which of course we are commemorating today. Why is this still so difficult, with all the education, with awareness, for people to first know their rights, then second, work at ensuring that those rights are protected?
You see, let us first find out the factors responsible for why people keep quiet when rights are violated. We look at Nigeria as a nation. In 1995, the establishment of the Civil Rights Commission was established. It further means that there are issues, you come to the commission, you lay your complaints. Two, it's also very difficult for people to even know what those rights are.
In the first place?
In the first place. Because if you are not aware of what your right is, when those rights are violated, you won't know. You made a statement. You said, oh, a lot of education, sensitization. For me, it's not enough. Because those sensitization For example, for like 2 days now, there's been no light. So if that means that what we are doing here, a lot of the population may not have access to this information.
Right.
Of
Because
course.
they're cut off.
Of course they are cut off. And these are platforms used to educate, where people will know. Because violation of our rights is what occurs every day in our society. 3, people may also have that capacity to identify when those rights are violated. But do they have the required propensity to come out and say, my rights have been violated? And that is why us, from the point of the pirate confraternity, we have tried as much as possible to bridge that gap. And what is that gap? You see people rights violated, they are able to identify, but they don't have the capacity to persecute who has violated their rights.
Okay.
And what are those things? The right to legal adjudication. You have to first pick a lawyer sometimes to now help you push. And that's why in 1952, when a group of people came together, the likes of Wole Soyinka, the likes of Olege, Mokwede, they came together and said, okay, how do we form a formidable group to see that when rights are violated, we are able to push it to a point? And what happened? It was in the University College in Ibadan, when the colonial masters brought a kind of rule of segregation. For you to participate in the student union government as at that time, you must possess certain capacity on the basis of the affluence of your parents.
Wow.
Are you getting me? So the rights of the indigents, if we call indigents, I mean indigents that have serious debility. If I mean serious debility, you are already indigent, you are weak, you are not strong. If I say you are weak, you are not strong, you don't have the economic power to come out to say, look, my right has been violated. And those 7 people came together to say, why should it be that because the parents of these ones are indigent, they do not have a voice in the student representation? They now came up with a group. And that group started interfacing with the management of the university at that time to further ensure that there is equity. Because when you talk about human rights violation, it means there's a group saying, let every man be treated with equal responsibility. Every man should be free to get justice, irrespective of he is educated, irrespective of
financial status
and the rest of them. So justice is something you should have and you must have. And that is why we have the likes of civil society groups who step in at some point. And also, it is not just a case of police alone. In your workplace, your rights may be violated. You can see our environment today. Because of the serious unemployment situation, your employer sees you as a perpetual slave. And because you think if I talk, I will be asked to leave my place of work, you remain in that state of masochism. You are just there
for the fear of losing your job.
For the fear of losing your job. We should have people who sees those things, identify them, and push them forward. Such that even if you are not at liberty on the basis of where you stand, you cannot push it. There should be people this way that should be able to say the working conditions of our people is not okay, and as such we want a change. For example, for example, look at our labor laws. What safety base has our labor law created for the employer? These are issues. So when we want to talk about human rights, we must look at it from a very broad perspective. It, necessarily not from the police angle. If we are able to correct it holistically, if it gets to that point of the police will take dressing. It's just that they are the ones at the receiving end.
Just before we're done with this conversation, there's something I want to ask Wilson. I mean, as a civil society person, you guys interface and interact with the police quite a lot, virtually on a day-to-day basis. That creates the impression, for the most part, that those who violate our rights in this country are the police people or overall law enforcement agencies. That doesn't seem to be so true because, for example, he just made reference to even the relationship between an employer and an employee. Let's look at the spectrum of those who are likely to violate rights, beyond police, beyond civil defense, beyond the army, for example.
Violation of rights. When I say violation of rights, it did not just mean that it's only police that violate rights.
Okay.
You understand? Violation of rights is a general thing. General. Even in your own environment,
right,
there are violations, series of different violations of rights. Let's take, for example, there is a case we are just handling now of a young girl. The young girl is not even up to 18 years. 18 years. She's just 17.
Okay.
They had the father, that's the mother, had an issue with opposite neighbors. Then the man opposite is highly placed, very influential. You understand? I think I will gather that he's a retired AC. You understand? The very man was fighting with the girl's mother. So when the girl now came out, why are you fighting my mom? The man head shovel. Want to use it to hit the mother. Why are you fighting me? You want to kill my mom? The girl head the shovel. Do you know that in the process, the girl's ear was, the man bite the girl's ear, and the ear was on the that's in the man's mouth for about 30 minutes. By the time the man finally threw the ear on the ground, the cells were already gone. You understand? So the girl. So
as we speak, the girl is left with one ear.
Yes, as we speak, that girl, that ear now will cost over 800,000. That's according to doctors. They said at UBT, they said the ear, the girl, they will do plastic surgery for the girl. Now, looking at that, that guy is already deformed. Yes. Somebody that came to life with 2 years, but today
it's winding up with one.
Because the man is very, very influential. The girl went to station to incident the matter. It was from there they referred her to the hospital central. From central, they later referred her to UBTH. You understand? Are you aware, my brother, that same man quickly run to State Police Command to also incident the matter? A matter that have already been reported to them there from another unit. Then the man went there to report the same matter, inviting them to come. If not for, by the spare part, if not for our intervention, maybe by now, they should have even arrested the girl and the father and the mother.
You know, we from the media also follow quite a lot the work that those in the civil society sphere do, even though there's also now the argument that the media cannot be separated from the civil society, being the fourth estate of the realm, for instance. But Gospel, just before we wind down completely on this discussion, there's something I want to talk to you about. I don't know how realistic it is when people talk about an egalitarian society. They say society can be egalitarian. We can have equal rights across board, have it on a universal basis. Is there ever going to be time, regardless of all of the demonstrations that we see, all of the push for equal rights, in such a way that you won't have class? Because I think one of the elements we're dealing with in this conversation is the class issue. He talked about a man who is said to be highly placed a while ago. Maybe he has advantage in such a way that he has a lot of money, and he said he's likely a retired AC or something, which is a whole lot of achievement in this part of the world, for example. Is there ever going to be a balance? Because it appears we're pursuing the shadow with all of this issue about egalitarian society.
It's true. We cannot. It's a conceptual statement. We look at it as something is kind of utopia.
Okay.
You know. And
we're enjoying it.
You know, no, it's something we tend to see what ought to be. You know, okay, we'll go to heaven. You know, but we've not been there.
Yeah, and we are afraid of malaria,
but we are told that the place is very okay. That is what I see when people talk about egalitarianism. But we can work towards it. Of course, a lot of factors that will also make us not achieve that.
Right.
It is not because Uji is sitting there or who does not want it to happen. Opportunities are not the same. Go to the villages. There are no opportunities to good education. For example, Plato was saying that for you to get a perfect state, a perfect nation, everybody must be specialized in their own area. If you are a mechanic, be there, don't delve into other places and all of that. Can that actually be? I try mechanic, and mechanic fails to give me the required to sustain myself and my family. I moved to furniture making. Eventually, I may get something from there. And so in such situation, you now discover that we cannot get to that point where Plato was talking about a perfect state. So that is it. But the truth is this: we can get a situation where at least 50%. And how can we do that? We must create a level playing ground for education. Education is that weapon that will de-lobotomize any mind that has been lobotomized. You come to the university with a mindset. After going through series of educational surgery, you are repositioned. And at that point, you now begin to know what you didn't know before, how to go about what you never knew how to do before, and how to achieve what you thought is impossible.
Right.
So for me, we still continue to, we as people, from the private confraternity, we are doing our best. Are you getting me? We also, currently we are handling a case, I think along TMI Road, when a child was defiled. After defiling the child, they used hanky to clean up her whatever, and the hanky was taken away. When the father came, I think he's a keke rider, you know, he was harassed by the suspect, I guess. He was harassed by the law enforcement agency. Okay. I don't want to quote right now, you know. And at the end of the day, they went home because the financial muscle it's not there. And and that's where, thank God, if we talk about the media, the social media is doing a lot of work.
Okay, along that line.
Along that line, and we saw it on social media. It became expedient that we pick up that matter. And to the glory of God, by the confraternity, we are beginning to achieve results.
I think this is where we're going to leave this discussion. But again, issues like this, I mean, that have to do with rights and protection of those rights. They are not a one-off conversation. It's something we need to continue to have, not just because today is one on which we are commemorating it. Gus Paul, a member of National Association of Sea Dogs, also known as Paris Confraternity. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
on
much.
This program to share with us, especially from your own perspective as to what you and your association are doing along this line of human rights. And then Wilson Imaswe, human rights activist, we thank you too for coming to share with us. Up next, I'll be joined by Curtis Ogbebo, who is also a frontline human rights activist, to look at a number of these issues. And then the fact that we now hear that the president is not going to show up to address a joint session of the Senate, because the Attorney General, which some persons have argued is the lawyer, the chief counsel to the president, has said that it is illegal for the Senate, for the House of Reps, as he says, to summon the president to come address them on security issues.